What's up, shit? Simmons here. Now, here is my throwback segment where I talk about the films that turns 10, 20, 30, and 40. Now, normally I'll do these videos usually on a Thursday, but it's Christmas, so I'm gonna decide to do a little like earlier than usual. So here is and this is also the last throwback segment of the year, obviously. So, and there were some really interesting films that came out over the years. So here is my the films that turns 10, 20, 30, and 40 this week. And there's a lot of ones here. Films celebrating their 10th anniversary, we got Quentin Tarantino's The Hateful Eight. Now, of course, this was Quentin Tarantino's follow-up to Django Unchained, and it stars the likes of Samuel L. Jackson, Kurt Russell, Jennifer Jason Leigh, who actually got an Oscar nomination, Walter Goggins. And it's about like these eight strangers who seek a refugee from a blizzard in a stagecoach stopover. Of course, some time after the American Civil War here, and it's not like Quentin Tarantino's best, nothing like that. But I thought that was a pretty decent one. Great, Sam Jackson was great. Kurt Russell, Damien Bashir, Bruce Dern. I mean, you had some really Channing Tatum even had like a little cameo. You had some really decent supporting casts here. It is a really decent one if you guys have seen that. All right, also turning 10 is Concussion. Concussion, of course, stars Will Smith, and it also features other folks such as Alec Baldwin is also in this one, Albert Brooks, and now this movie also was a film that a lot of people saying that Will Smith should have got an Oscar nomination for and stuff, which I guess I could kind of see. Like, he definitely had a really good performance in this here. Of course, Concussion starred Will Smith as a Bennett Amalu, who's a forensic pathologist who fights the National Football League because to suppress the research on concussions and stuff. And Will Smith definitely really embodies this role well. I really like the accent he used in this. I mean, Concussion is a really decent one if you guys never seen it. I mean, it's not really much about football, say at least. I wouldn't even call it a football movie. But it's more about the people getting concussions and stuff. More on that type of stuff and all. But Will Smith was still great in this one, to say at least. All right, also turning 10. Oh God, is the terrible remake of Point Break. Oh boy, this was terrible. This of course starred Edgar Ramirez and I think his name is Luke Bracey. And obviously this is a remake of the Patrick Swayze, Keanu Reeves one. And I'm more cool with remakes and stuff because it's terrible. Who cares? Still got the original. And you know what? This is a great example. This movie came out. It's terrible. Who cares? Still got the original. Did not tarnish the original. But yeah, it's just not so good. Like, I cannot. The best part about Point Break was the chemistry with Keanu Reeves and Patrick Swayze. The chemistry in this with Edgar Ramirez and Luke Bracey wasn't so good. It just wasn't all that great. The action wasn't good. It's just a really forgettable mess. And hopefully the one that was the series version that was just announced for AMC, fingers crossed that will be better, but who knows. All right, also turning 10 is Daddy's Home. I really quite enjoyed this film. Of course they did do a sequel as well with Mel Gibson, John Lithgow, but the first film is great. It's really hilarious. You had a fun cameo by Kobe Bryant, which was really nice to see. Of course, you got Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg, obviously coming off of the other guys together. And this, of course, was from the same director of That's My Boy. And this movie here is about mild-mannered stepfather played by Will Ferrell, who pretty much vies for the attention of his wife's kids and stuff until his their real dad comes back and he has tried to bond with the real dad as well. The chemistry with Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg Not as good as, let's say, the other guys or anything, but the chemistry was on point. Had some fun moments in it. Like the Lakers moment really cracks me up. I mean, it's a really good one, and the sequel is just as good as well. So, yeah, That Is Home is a really good one. All right, also turning 10 are more small affairs. Like we got 45 Years, which stars Charlotte Rampling and Tom Courtney. And it's from the same director of Leon Pete. And this is, of course, about like a elderly couple who plan to celebrate their 45th wedding anniversary. It is a really nice little charming film. The chemistry with with Rampley, Courtney was pretty good. I think Rampley actually got an Oscar nomination for this, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong there, but it was a really decent one, to say at least. Also turning 10 is Anomalisa, which is from the director Charlie Kaufman and Duke Johnson, and it's actually told through like puppery, in the vein of Team America in a way. And this also, speaking of Jennifer Jason Lee, this also features the voice of Jennifer Jason Lee in this one, and it's a really decent, charming, interesting character study. Again, the movie is told through puppets, and there are some risque stuff that happens between the two puppets in this. Yeah, if you, especially very in vein of something like Team America, really. But it's a really decent one, to say the least. If you guys have seen it, definitely give that one a go. All right. Film celebrating their 20th anniversary. Oh, we got some good ones here. We got Cheaper by a Dozen 2. Now, Cheaper by a Dozen 2 is a follow-up to 2004's Cheaper by a Dozen. Starring the likes of Steve Martin, Eugene Levy pops up in this one. Directed by Adam Shakeman, who gave us like Hairspray. And this time around, you have the of course, you have the Baker families, who of course, you know, go on like a vacation and contend with a rival family here. And you have like a very young Taylor Lautner. Now, the movie they're seeing with Taylor Lautner and Alison Stoner, and it always cracks me up every time. I mean, is it as good as the 2003 one? Maybe not, but I still had a fun time with the sequel. Love the back and forth scene with Steve Martin and Eugene Levy. They really put off each other very well here. Hilary Duff popping up, returning is great. I mean, it's a really decent one, to say at least. Of course, you got Tom Welling's also in this as well. Jamie King is also in this. He has some really fun supporting players as well. And again, you got to admit, like a very young Taylor Lautner. Obviously, that's way before Twilight fame. So, yeah. All right. Also turning 20, we got Fun with Dick and Jane, which is actually a remake of the 1960s or 50s film. This version actually starred Jim Carrey and Téa Leoni. And it was, of course, about a middle class couple who, after the husband's employer goes bankrupt, they decide to pretty much, live a life of crime and robbery here. And the chemistry with Jim Carrey and Téa Leoni is pretty hilarious. The aforementioned Alec Baldwin is also in this. It's definitely one of the few remakes that I do find a little funnier than the original. Jim Carrey, of course, is just as. I mean, it's not like one of his top tier performances, nothing. It's not a classic as, let's say, The Mask or Dumb and Dumber, nothing like that. But it is a really fun performance, to say at least. And the chemistry with Leone and Carrey is always good. All right, also turning 20 is Steven Spielberg's Munich. Now, of course, this is about the mission to of course, this is about the 1970 Olympics attack. Now, we just had a film about this, another film about this just recent, which was September 5 that came out this past year. And I will say this is actually the better one. You of course had Eric Bana, Daniel Craig was in this. It is a really intense film. Uh, this was actually, I believe, this was also Steven Spielberg's last R-rated movie he ever directed. He hasn't really directed an R-rated film since, believe it or not. So that's something there. But Munich is a really good one, to say the least. I mean, it's not like one of his top tier films. It's not like a classic as the rest of his or anything, but it's still really this one that's well worth watching. All All right, also turning 20, we got Casanova, which is the period movie, romance movie starring Heath Ledger and Sienna Miller. That's not a bad one there. I mean, of course, like the late great Heath Ledger and Sienna Miller, if I'm not mistaken, was actually either dating or married at the time, and they actually had a really good chemistry with one another. R.I.P. Heath Ledger. He was always great. 2005 was a cool year for him, by the way, because he also had Brokeback Mountain that same year, and he had Casanova. All right, also turning 20, we got the late great Rob Reiner's film Rumor Has It. Not really one of my favorites of his, but it's okay. I mean, Jennifer Aniston's decent in this. Not really like his best work, to be honest. Yeah. R.I.P. By the way, Rob Reiner. I mean, he's put out a lot of great stuff. Also turning 20 is Wolf Creek, which is a horror film. Pretty much directed by Greg McLean, who gave us the Balto Experiment, and this is actually based on true events. While its plots, elements reminiscence of real life here, and of course, you got the iconic character of Mick Taylor, who is like pretty much, I guess, you say the Australian Leatherface in a weird way. I mean, and John Jarrett's good. I mean, the first Wolf Creek is a really decent Australian outback horror film. Now, of course, they did do a sequel, and we got a third one coming out as well. But the first Wolf Creek is a pretty decent one, and a really decent horror watch. Whose idea was it to put out a Wolf Creek horror movie around Christmas time? It's beyond me, but okay. Also turning 20, we got The New World, which is pretty much like a story of Pocahontas, really, starring Colin Farrell. And you also have Quarica Kilcher, who I had a huge crush on when I first saw her in this movie. Also turning 20 is The Ringer, which this movie is a little offensive nowadays, really. It stars Johnny Knoxville as a young man who is part of a scheme to pay off his debts and poses as a developmentally disabled to compete in the Special Olympics. This definitely reminds me, like, honestly, I'm pretty sure, like, the South Park episode where Cartman did the same thing. That was pretty much inspired by this film, really. It's not really a great film, but it's really a movie that would not get made today. It is pretty offensive. But, I've always liked Johnny Knoxville. Can't wait to see him host Fear Factor next month, by the way. Actually, his best work that year is probably Dukes of Hazzard. I really got a kick out of Dukes of Hazzard. But The Ringer is not a great film or anything, but definitely had some fun moments in it. And you had like Heifer Heigo was in this one, so there's that. All right. Films celebrating their 30th anniversary, we got the animated movie Balto. Now, this is, of course, based on a true story. That features that's pretty much like a loosely based on like a true story about this like dog who helped save kids affected with the diphtheria in 1925 serum run to to a gnome. I mean, the original Balto, they did do a sequel, which I'm not a fan of the sequel, but the original Balto is a pretty decent one. The animation is pretty decent. I used to always thought it was a Don Bluth film when I first saw it, but it definitely reminded me in a vein of something like Land Before Time, really. But it's not Don Bluth related project at all. But yeah, Balto is a really decent. It's not like one of my favorite 90s animated films. Like, obviously, my favorite animated movies of that year of that decade would probably be The Lion King, Aladdin, and all. But Balto is a pretty decent one, to say at least. All right, what else I've seen that though. Also turning 20, we got Nixon, which is of course a directed by Oliver Stone, and it's about Richard Nixon. Starring Anthony Hopkins, Joan Allen. I thought Nixon was a pretty decent one. Anthony Hopkins was great. He's really good at playing real life people. From Richard Nixon to Alfred Hitchcock. He definitely has a really knack of playing real life figures. And of course, Oliver Stone's no shade when it comes to historical epics too. He did like JFK. Of course, he directed Nixon, the World Trade Center movie he directed. Like, he definitely knows a way around these true story type films. All right, also turning 30, we got Dracula Dead and Loving It, which is actually the last movie Mel Brooks ever directed before he retired. And this movie stars Leslie Nielsen as a parody of Bela Lugosi's Dracula. And it's a really fun one. I mean, Mel Brooks is no stranger when it comes to spoof movies. Leslie Nielsen is like the king of spoof actors, and Dracula Dead and Loving is a really fun one. You also got Amy Asbeth was also in this. Paris Booth. It's a really hilarious one if you guys have seen that. All right. Also turning 30, we got the pirate movie Cutthroat Island with Gina Davis. Not really so good. We also got the John Claude Van Damme action movie Sudden Death, which is pretty much like Die Hard at a hockey arena. You know, Sudden Death is a lot of fun. Of course, John Claude Van Damme's great. You also have some other folks here and there too. I mean, it's definitely a really, of course, you had Paris Booth, who he's actually a Sudden Death, not Dracula. Don't love it. My bad. But still, yeah, a Sudden Death. If you guys haven't seen it, definitely give that one a go. All right. Also turning 30 is Grumpier Old Man, which is the sequel to Grumpy Old Man, starring Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon. The first Grumpy Old Man is pretty fun. Not a fan of the sequel, so. Also turning 30, we got Waiting to Exhale, which is the romantic comedy drama starring the likes of Whitney Houston, Angela Bassett. You also had Loretta Devine, Dennis Haysbert. And it's a really nice, remarkable film here. It centers on like four women living in the Phoenix metropolitan area here. And the chemistry with the four leads are great. Whitney Houston, obviously coming off of her acting debut with The Bodyguard. She was really good in this one. Loretta Devine was terrific. Angela Bassett, who actually directed a Whitney Houston biopic on Lifetime, believe it or not. She did a good job as well. It's a really decent film that's well worth a watch. Forrest Whitaker also directed it. Shit about that. All right, also turning 30, we got Tom and Huck, which is the story based on Mark Twain's The Adventure of Tom Sawyer. This film here, of course, had the late Brad Renfro, Jonathan Taylor Thomas, who you might know from Home Improvement fame. This is not a bad, adventure film there. All right, also, speaking of Quentin Tarantino, by the way, also turning 40, we got the anthology film, Four Rooms, with Tim Roth, Sam Jackson. It is actually directed by the likes of Quentin Tarantino, Robert Rodriguez, and it's, of course, an anthology film, which is not like the best thing they've ever done, but it's a pretty decent one there. All right, also turning 40, we got Howling 2, which is a sequel to 1981's The Howling. This actually starred the likes of, Christopher Lee, Red Brown, and many others. It's not really a good one. I mean, the first Howling, with Dee Wallace is a classic. If you guys never seen the original Howling, definitely give that one a go, but the sequel is pretty forgettable. All right. Also turning 40, we got Murphy's Romance, which is a film with Sally Field and James Garner. And it's directed by Martin Riff, who directed Sally Field and Norma Ray. And it's where like Emma moves to the ranch with her son after a divorce and befriends this older Murphy. And of course the chemistry with like James Garner, Sally Field's great. Corey Haim is in this one. It is a really nice, heartfelt film about friendship, and it's a really good one there. All right, also turning 40 is Revolution, which is a historical drama starring Al Pacino, Donald Sutherland, and it stars Pacino, who plays this frontiersman at a condo in New York, who, of course, becomes involved in the revolutionary cause during the Revolutionary War. So forgettable. So there's that. But that's pretty much it there. Let me let you guys. Which of the films stand out to you the most? To me, the 10-year one is actually going to go. It's actually going to go to Daddy's Home. Will Ferrell, Mark Wahlberg. That's my favorite film there. The 20-year one is actually going to go to Cheap by Dozen 2. The dirtier one is going to go to Nixon, and the 4-year one is actually going to go to Murphy's Romance. Anyway, Dark Hospital, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell for notification. This is Simon Sayo.